Father's Day is rapidly approaching, and if your dad already has a garage full of tools and insists no more ties, then I suggest you try this episode's sponsor, Home Field Apparel. Home Field is a premium brand based in Indianapolis, creating incredibly comfortable, officially licensed collegiate wear from over 150 colleges. They dive deep into each school's history, finding unique logos and mascots to craft nostalgic designs. So for a Father's Day gift to knock out the competition, why don't you take your dad down memory lane of his college glory years when he was big man on campus? You can do this by making sure you head to homefieldapparel.com. Again, that's homefieldapparel.com. Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, aka the Football History Dude, and what you're about to listen to is a quick little interview between myself and George Bozeka to talk about the 2023 PFRA Convention in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania this year. That's going to be held from July 27th to July 30th. Enjoy.
So, let's just go right there then, George. So, again, for the listener of the show that hasn't heard your name before, let's start with what's your role at the PFRA and how did you get involved with the Professional Football Researchers Association?
Yeah, I've been the president of PFRA since 2021. I got actively involved. I was a member starting around 2010, 2012. Got more active as I went on. One of the first things that I did was write some articles for the Coffin Corner, which is our official magazine. I then agreed to be the meeting organizer for our conventions, which we have every other year, which I know we're going to be talking about here soon. Became a board member and just basically grew in that role and took on the duties of, as I said, president in 2021.
Yeah, and speaking of the PFRA, I know that you got involved at that time frame. It's been a long time since the PFRA has been in existence. So maybe take our listener back to the origin story, we'll call it, of the PFRA and maybe a little bit of a history up until what leads us to 2023.
Yeah, PFRA was founded actually in 1979 at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And basically the mission of PFRA is to research and preserve pro football history and also then to disseminate that pro football history. We have amongst our membership, some of the leading football historians in the country. And actually, we're a worldwide organization and that we have members also, outside the United States. Our last count is we have with actual members and comps, we've grown to a little over 600 members. So we're real proud of that. We've had continued growth. And basically, that's sort of the background story in regard to how the PFRA got started. I always say that if you love pro football history or love pro football, our organization is perfect for you in what we do through that preservation mission.
And speaking of that, okay, so you said if you love pro football or history, even put them both together. If someone were to want to join the PFRA, how would they do so?
Yes, if you're interested in becoming a member of the PFRA, you can go to our website, which is profootballresearchers.com. There is a series of tabs on there. You can click on the tab to join the organization. It's $35 a year for people living in the United States, $40 if you live in Canada, $50 for international members. And what that membership entitles you to is access to our members only section, which, as I said, is a treasure trove of information on pro football. We have line scores, game books. We have some interviews on there. We just have, there's a section on there, uniforms. There's a section on all pros. It's just a great site. There's some all American Football Conference stuff on there. So it's your membership alone is worth it just to be able to get into the members only section, which is only for members. If you're not a member, you can't get in that. And then also you get our magazine, The Coffin Corner, which comes out 6 times a year. It's got great articles on pro football. and the history of pro football. We run the gamut. We even have history on there from Canadian football, European. We've even had articles about women's pro football. So we cover a wide gamut in the Coffin Corner, and that comes out 6 times a year, as I said, and that's part of your membership also. Also, if you're a member, you get a discount to fee on if you come to our convention. So that's also a perk.
And we're going to get into that convention here in a few minutes. I mean, the big old kit and caboodle this upcoming year in Pittsburgh. Something that I think is cool, and especially when you talk about the Coffin Corner and articles and such, maybe touch upon a little bit how you're a member, you're a researcher, you love the maybe to contribute to the Coffin Corner or anything else in Pro Football Researchers Association. Like, what can someone do to do that?
Our publications director is Mark Durr, and if you contact Mark, anybody that's a member can write for the Coffin Corner. He receives basically queries from members all the time about an article idea. He does a really good job of working with you in regard to that. You can get you can get his email through the website, but I'll also give it to your listeners. It's publications@profootballresearchers.org. That takes you right to Mark's mailbox. He receives queries all the time. And the great thing is that you don't necessarily have to have experience writing. We help people that come in. Sometimes it's a first-time writer, but they're just really passionate about a particular topic. So they come in and say, hey, I like to write an article about this. And maybe if that article isn't necessarily what we're looking for, Mark will usually work with you in terms of coming up with a topic if you're really, really passionate about it, tweak it a little bit, discuss it with you, and, sort of take you through the process. So it's actually a really good way to get started if it's something that you're really interested in and you'd like to do more than just read about the history, is to actually write about it and research it. And, we try to help you through that process. So if you're interested, that's the way to do it. Publications@profootballresearchers.org. Contact Mark and tell him what you're interested in writing about.
Yeah, and I mean, to take it a step further, so I'm a person that's interested. I've been able to maybe contribute, and now I want to go to meet some of these individuals that are, my compadres as far as the pro football researchers go. Like, let's talk about that convention this year, 2023. Where is it, and how can I go about getting there?
Yeah, we do our conventions every other year. We usually try to pick an NFL city or a football or a town that's related to pro football. In the past, since I started organizing the conventions, we've had conventions in Cleveland, we've been in Green Bay, we've been to Buffalo, we were in Canton most recently, and this year's convention is going to be in Pittsburgh. It's July 27th through the 30th. It's actually, what we've done is, it used to be that our convention was basically 2 days. It was a Friday evening session and an all day Saturday session. And we've now added on other things so that if people want to make a whole weekend of it, they can. And we've done that same thing in Pittsburgh. It's going to be at the Drury Plaza, which is in downtown Pittsburgh. It's actually the former Federal Reserve Bank building, which they morphed into a Drury hotel. So the meeting is going to be there, but some of the add-ons that we've included is that on Thursday, for people that come in early, we're going to get a tour of the Heinz History Center and Western Pennsylvania Sports Museum. On Friday, since we don't actually get started with the meeting itself until 6 o'clock, we have a meet and greet at 5. We're going to have an add-on activity and travel about I'd say 45 minutes down the road to Latrobe, at the Latrobe Area Historical Society. And Mary Lou Townsend, who's the president of the society, is going to be doing a presentation on Latrobe, home of professional football, or are we? And it's basically a presentation that Mary Lou does about Latrobe's role in the history of pro football. Then we obviously have our Friday evening session. We're really happy this year. For the first time, I mentioned women's pro football on purpose earlier because two women that are involved with the Pittsburgh Passion women's pro football team. Teresa Kahn and Lisa Horton are going to be speaking. They're going to be our initial speakers on Friday night. They're co-coaches of the Passion, and Lisa's also a former quarterback for the Passion. And they've won 3 championships through the years. And they're going to be speaking about their experiences in women's pro football. And then after a meal break, we always include a meal on Friday evening and a meal on Saturday, and those are all included in your convention fee. We have 2 speakers coming in, Rudy Dix, who's going to speak on his book, The 63 Steelers, and Pete Peterson and his son Stephen, who wrote a book, The Turnpike Rivalry, about the Steelers-Browns rivalry. And then Saturday we go all day. We start with a business meeting right off the bat at 8 o'clock. And then we have our afternoon speakers. We always try to have a player panel. This year we have John Kolb, who played for the Steelers during their initial Super Bowl years in the 70s. He's going to be speaking, and also Dan Dara, who was a former quarterback with the Buffalo Bills, lives in the Pittsburgh area. So they're going to both be speaking in the afternoon. I almost also forgot we have 3 speakers in the morning too. Joe Ziemba, who's spoke at conventions in the past. He's going to be giving a talk, as are Joshua Milton Anderson and Aaron Grayson Sapp. Joe's giving a presentation. I won't give it away. It's called The Worst Team in NFL History. You have to attend the convention to find out which team that is. Joshua is going to be giving a presentation on the Eagles-Steelers rivalry. And Aaron, who just had a book come out, which name escapes me. I'll get it here in a second, and so I can give you the actual title of the book. She's going to be giving us a talk about the legacy of the 1965 AFL All-Star walkout. And that was a key part of a book that she just wrote, which was called, and it just was actually released, and I'm going to the website so I can give you the exact title. It's called Moving the Chains, a Civil Rights Protest that Saved the Saints and Transformed New Orleans. So she's going to be speaking in the morning. And as I said, we have the NFL Players Panel in the afternoon. And then we have our final speakers. Chris Willis is going to be speaking on the Galloping Ghost in Pittsburgh, the Red Grange 1925 barnstorming game. Ryan Christensen, Hard Knocks in Mill City, the Minneapolis Marines and the Minneapolis Red Jackets, and Greg Tranter, Providence Steamroller, New England's first NFL team. One thing that we try to do this time is the theme of the convention is obviously Western PA's pro football legacy. But we wanted to not have it all about that area. So that's why, as you heard, we have other topics that we're also going to be covering, so that we can make the convention diverse. We are all about celebrating pro football. We don't necessarily come to a convention because, well, I'm a Steelers fan, so I'm going to go to the Pittsburgh convention. I heard somebody on the forum say, well, I don't like the Steelers. I'm not going to go there. Well, it's not all about the Steelers. It's about celebrating pro football history. And obviously the Steelers are a key part of pro football history, whether you like them or you don't. We went to Green Bay, and I know we had some non-Green Bay fans. We had a number of fans that were, but it's still, we always try to make it an enjoyable convention. And we always try to basically, as I said, celebrate pro football history. That's the key. And then we finish up the weekend with a trivia bowl. It's called the PFRA Quiz Bowl. This is the 3rd time we've done it, and it's moderated by one of our members, Neil Golden. And then our final add-on for Sunday for those that are leaving late is we're going to get a tour of Acrisure Stadium. I always want to say Heinz Field, but it's not Heinz Field anymore. It's Acrisure. So we're going to get a tour of that. And we do try to tour stadiums. If we don't actually have the convention, we've toured the stadiums in just about every city we've been in. We toured Brown Stadium. Where we were in Buffalo, we were at their stadium. And also in Green Bay, we were at Lambeau. Canton obviously doesn't have a pro football stadium. They do have Benson now, which used to be Fawcett Stadium. I'll always fondly remember it as Fawcett Stadium since I'm from Canton, but now it's Tom Benson Stadium, which is right there by the Hall of Fame. So that, real quick and dirty, is the convention. If you go on our website, there is a convention logo right on our homepage, and if you click on that, it gives you all the information, including how to register. We have a special rate with the Drury Plaza, which is on there. And that rate is good until about a month before June 25th is the cutoff. So you can get that special PFR rate there. And before you ask, it's $75 fee for members and member spouses and $100 for non-members. So as I said, if you want to save $25, you can become a member. Instead of paying the additional non-member fee, you get your membership for $10 more. So that's a good deal. And that includes your admission to the convention, both meals. The add-ons do have extra charges involved, which are outlined on the website. The Latrobe is the only one that there's no extra cost involved. I believe it is. I believe it's $18 for the tour of the Heinz Museum, and I believe it's $10 for Acrisure. So there are some additional costs involved, and we actually have a link right on the website too, so you can pay right through the website if you want to come, and you can pay for all of your fees and make reservations for everything there. The only one that you can't is, and the information is on the website for the Latrobe, you have to contact me, but all my information is on the website.
So yeah, you made it really easy. I'm a fan who wants to come to this convention. I want to participate in all of these events. However, this is my first time. I'm maybe a little bit shy. I don't know anybody that's going to be at the convention. What do you recommend to me as a listener?
Come. We have a lot of people that come for their first time, and I can assure you that everybody is very, very friendly, very welcoming, and I think the one great thing about the conventions is there's a lot of good fellowship. I think people walk away from every convention with new friends. Because we all have a common interest in pro football history and pro football. And I think that's one of the great things about about our conventions is it's not only about the presentations, the meals, the tours, and everything else. It's also about that fellowship. And as I said, I think everybody walks away with, new friendships after they, meet at these conventions. I see people that come back every single time, and, they're always, sitting with people that they've met who they may not have even known when they came. We recently had every year our Buffalo membership does a chapter meeting in April every year. And it's become an annual thing there. And I usually go, and I've seen that grow. The first time I went to give a little speech about the PFRA and sort of, as we call it, sort of an unofficial state of the PFRA message, there was maybe 10, 15 people. This past time we went a couple weeks ago, I attended with my son John, who's now a PFRA member also. There was, I think, over 30 there that day. So that's morphed and grown. And I've seen growth with the convention every year we've done. We had a really nice turnout in Canton in 2021. And I think it also helped that we had to reschedule that one, obviously, because of COVID. We were originally going to have it in 20, but we had to bump it up a year. But we had a nice turnout. And as I said, you always find new friends. So I always say, don't be shy. I think you'll find that you meet friends, have great fellowship, and just it's really an enjoyable weekend.
Okay, so you just eased my mind a little bit again, and now I'm interested in coming. Help me out. What was the name of that website so I can register?
ProFootballResearchers.com.
And when I'm on there too, there's something that I might check out. It's something that's like the PFRA books. I mean, let's dive into that a little bit. What is that system?
Yeah, we started PFRA book series in 2016. And I actually presented the original idea to the board. I think that was prior to the time I actually had become a board member. But I had actually been in my local, either, can't remember if it was Barnes & Noble or Walden Books back then, but I saw a book on the 1947 Brooklyn Dodgers. And it was a book that the Society for American Baseball Research, SABR, had produced. And and I said, well, this is great. It had a certain look about it and a certain way it was organized. And I said, gee, I found out that they actually had a series of books about great teams sort of in baseball history. And I said, well, we should do something like that. So that was sort of the germ of the idea. That 1947 team was obviously Jackie Robinson and that whole story. I later found out they had a book on the 54 Indians living in the Cleveland area. I picked that one up too. And they just have a series of these books that they've done over the years. So we went in with the idea of doing a great teams in pro football history series. And the initial book we did, because we were going to be, partially because we were going to be in Green Bay, but we did a book on the 66 Packers, profiles of Vince Lombardi's Super Bowl I champions. And we followed a certain outline, and we've done that with each book. Since then, we've done books on the 58 Colts, profiles of NFL's first sudden death champions, and also 51 Rams, profiles of NFL's first West Coast champions. We're working on our fourth book in the series on the 64 Bills, which we have targeted to come out late next year around the time of the playoffs in 2024, because that'll be the anniversary of their 64 AFL championship. And we've already signed a contract with our publisher, McFarland, for the fifth book in the series, which will cover the 1976 Raiders, and our target is to get that out in 2026. What each book has is we do usually a chapter about the area, sort of a history of the area, and key things about whatever city it is, whether it's Baltimore, Los Angeles, Buffalo. We then do profiles of all the coaches. We do profiles of all the players. Every player has a chapter from the, whether you're a starter or not. Every player and every coach gets a chapter. We do game summaries for each game in the season, including their championship game, with all full stats. And then we also cover the media. We do chapters on key media members for each team, whoever either their TV or radio play-by-play guy, or whoever their leading, sports writer was that covered the team. So we cover those. So we try to cover every game, and then we'll sometimes do some special chapters depending on the team. Because the Rams were, one of the pioneers in terms of uniforms and helmets and all that, we did a chapter about that for them. We did a chapter in the Packers book about race in the Packers, because Vince Lombardi was very forward-looking in terms of how he handled race on his teams. And so we also try to do special chapters about that also. So that's basically sort of the makeup of the books. And as I said, all the books are available through McFarland Publishing. You can go to their website. They're also, I believe, all available through Amazon. So we're really, proud of the series. And one other thing that, while you're mentioning the book series, another thing, because I had the website here open while I was talking to you, another thing that we do is a Hall of Very Good. And we can get into that unless you had any questions about the book series or you'd like to go into any more detail about that.
Yeah, no, again, you mentioned it, the listener of the show, if they want to, pick up one of these books, they can either go right to the McFarland Publishing website or to Amazon, probably is where a lot of people go to. I mean, are they in a print form in stores like, say, Barnes and Nobles and things like that, or is it mostly online?
It's mostly online. Unfortunately, since I haven't been in any of those areas after the books have been published, I'm not sure, whether you could go into your local Barnes and Noble, say in Green Bay, and find that. The way I found the Indians book was at the Barnes and Noble, but I'm pretty sure it was there because of it being local interest. I think the Brooklyn Dodgers book was probably there more because of Jackie Robinson and that whole story. Those are the two I saw at the Barnes and Noble from that Sabre series. I have unfortunately not seen others. So I haven't really polled our members, but you raise an interesting question. I may do that just to see if they've seen them in their local bookstores. But I'm sure living in the Cleveland area, if we did one on one of the Browns championship teams, it may end up showing up at the local Barnes & Noble or local bookstore. But it's mostly online purchasing right now.
Yeah, it's actually something I do every time I go to our local Barnes & Nobles. I'll go to the sports section to see if I can find one of Josie Emba's books or somebody else that I know from the
Right,
network and that
right.
kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I do want to mention one other thing about the convention. We normally do have book tables. Either whether it's members that bring in some of their stuff that they're selling or they've written, or, normally too, McFarland normally has a table too with all their books, and they have a wide gamut of pro football books if you go to their website. So they normally do a book table at the convention too. I haven't gotten complete confirmation from them, but I know that they're planning on it. They just haven't confirmed for sure yet for this year, but hoping that they'll be there again, because they've been a sort of a key part of our conventions by having those book tables there. And we always invite people too, that have written books to bring their books with them for sales also, because we're all about publicizing our own authors within our organization. We actually have a book page on our website of books that have been written by members, with links to where you can, with links. So,
And speaking of that, so you mentioned, okay, I could purchase a book probably when I come to the convention. A lot of times when I'm a listener, I'm going to conventions or other places and I like to get some kind of swag, like buy a t-shirt or some other thing. Will there be merchandise available?
We don't do a lot of merchandise, but we always do a convention t-shirt. And actually, we're in the process right now of designing that. And actually, what we do is we usually do pre-orders of those. So if people stay tuned, we're probably going to release the information on the t-shirt here probably during the month of May, because we like to do the pre-order so we can get them in and then have them. I usually order a handful of additional ones for people that don't order a t-shirt, just so they can buy it. When we were in Canton, my goodness, I bought an additional lot of t-shirts, and they were gone within about an hour on Friday night. I was actually sort of sorry I didn't buy more. So I'm going to keep that in mind this time, because like I said, it was, people saw it and say, oh, I didn't get one of those. Can and people just started buying. By the time people had signed up, I don't think I had a t-shirt left. So in addition to the ones that were pre-ordered. So yeah, we do a t-shirt.
All right, and again, I'm a listener to the show. I just can't get enough, and I want to, get as much as I can before I go to this convention. I've heard of something called the official PFRA podcast. I mean, what is that, George? I mean, give me a little bit of a background there.
Yeah, it's actually on the Sports History Network, which I know you know very well, since you're I guess I'll borrow a term that I hear on the local sports talk show. You're sort of our grand poobah of the Sports History Network. But yeah, my son and myself started the official PFRA podcast. We launched in December of last year. We have done 6 podcasts thus far. We tried to do podcasts that are basically dealing with former players, historians, and basically people that are involved, obviously, in the history of pro football. We've had a number of former players. We actually had Don Maynard, the great receiver, Hall of Famer for the Jets. We had his son Scott on because obviously Don Maynard passed about a year ago. We had a great interview with him, which we did a couple of podcasts ago. And actually, we just sort of booked our next podcast subject, Wayne Fonts, former coach of the Detroit Lions. And we're going to be interviewing Wayne next week, and that should be released around hopefully mid-May. So we're really excited to get Wayne. He actually has a local contact because he's from Canton. He played for Canton McKinley, which many may know the famous Canton McKinley Massillon high school football rivalry. He played in that rivalry back in the 50s. So he has sort of a local touch here for us here in Northeast Ohio. But yeah, he obviously coach of the Lions for a number of years, and so we're going to be interviewing Coach Fonts next year, and he'll be our next podcast guest.
Well, we'll be looking forward to that. And as we get out of here, any last words of wisdom for the listener of the show through the lens of the president of the PFRA or just a member for so many years, and what they can expect in the next, 5 or so years?
Yeah, we're hoping to continue to grow the organization. One thing I sort of mentioned in passing that we never got there, I do want to mention our Hall of Very Good. It is on the website front and center. Basically what the Hall of Very Good is are former players and coaches that not necessarily in the Hall of Fame yet, but we have a vote every year to induct members into our Hall of Very Good. We've actually had a number of people that are in the Hall of Very Good that later were inducted into the Hall of Fame. And if you click on there, you can see the complete list of everybody that's in the Hall of Very Good. And we put asterisks beside the names of those that eventually make it into the Hall of Fame. I just opened it up. For example, Cliff Branch was a Hall of Very Good member and recently was inducted into the Hall of Fame. He was in our Hall of Very Good in 2011. Finally made it into the Hall of Fame recently. So we're very, very proud of that. We have nominations every year, a membership vote. And I know it's something that the members really enjoy because, they get to nominate, people to the Hall of Very Good. And then, as I said, we do the vote every year. So it's something we're very proud of. I think our goal in the next 5 years is to continue to grow the organization. We continue to look at ways to, disseminate, pro football history. That's why we got into the podcast business, because obviously that's, the big thing right now. And, just another way to not only get pro football history disseminated, but also disseminated hopefully to a younger audience. I think a lot of the members are, I'm in my 60s. I think a lot of the members are, in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. We do want to tap into that, younger audience. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people think that pro football history started with a Super Bowl, and are sometimes, surprised to hear, the history before that. And I don't say that to basically come down on people. It's just that there's, just a great history of pro football that goes all the way back before, the 20th century and, the 1892 and Pudge Heffelfinger, and even a little bit before that. So, it's a rich history. We want to continue to disseminate that and write articles. There's always something out there that could be written about. We cover a wide gamut, but there's always a new topic or a new subject or something that comes up and say, hey, we should write something about that, because history is constantly evolving. So we want to continue to, preserve that history, research that history, compile that history and disseminate it and continue to, to grow the organization, across the country. And as I said, we even have worldwide members. We had one of our speakers at our convention that had written a book about European pro football, and name is Massimo Foglio, and he spoke at one of our conventions. So came all the way from Italy, and actually he's a coach of an Italian pro football team. So we run the gamut of people all over the world that love American pro football.
There you go. People from all around the world coming to enjoy the 2023 PFRA Convention. Again, to get more information, head to profootballresearchers.com. The dates, July 27th through the 30th in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. But for now, dude, I'm through if you're through.
Hey there, sports history fan. This is Darren Hayes, host of the Pigskin Dispatch and Jersey Dispatch podcast. I hope you've enjoyed another great episode here on Sports History Network. Now, speaking of sports history, this episode was brought to you by Firefly Books, and they have two great ones for you this summer. For basketball fans, they have the NBA 75, the definitive history by author Dave Zarum, who's appeared on our Jersey Dispatch podcast recently. He tells about the experience, the thrilling journey of the NBA, from its humble beginnings to its modern glory. Uncover the untold stories of triumph, controversy, and the greatest stars of the game. This isn't just a book. It's courtside seats to over 75 years of NBA history. And for the golf enthusiasts, swing into The Golf Round I'll Never Forget by Matt Adams. Relive 50 of golf's most memorable moments through the eyes of the legends themselves. From Garcia's triumph at the 2017 Masters to Nicklaus' miraculous 1986 comeback, it's the closest you'll get to walking the fairways with golf's greatest. Get your summer read on. Grab a copy of NBA 75 or The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, available online or at your favorite bookstore.